In 1896, the Supreme Court of the United States rubber-stamped the principle of equal but separate for blacks and whites in southern states. The upholding of Plessy versus Ferguson would guarantee segregation, and racial hatred would persist for another 3/4 of a century. When federal troops pulled out of the South in 1877, whites quickly found legal ways to deprive blacks of their equal rights, and went on to pass a series of Jim Crow laws, making it illegal for blacks and whites to commingle. They could not share the same restaurants, schools, trains, and public and private institutions. In 1890, Louisiana passed a Jim Crow law requiring railroads to provide separate cars for blacks and whites. Homer Plessy challenged the law by sitting in a whites-only car and was arrested. Plessy claimed the law violated the 14th Amendment clause of equal protection under the law. The state of Louisiana argued that blacks received equal treatment, just separate. The case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Justice John Marshall Harlan wrote the minority dissent.
Our Constitution is colorblind, and neither knows nor tolerates classes among citizens. In respect of civil rights, all citizens are equal before the law.
But the court's majority sided with the state. The majority opinion said,
"We consider the underlying fallacy of the plaintiff's argument to consist in the assumption of that the enforced separation of the two races stamps the colored race with a badge of inferiority. If this be so, it is not by reason of anything found in the Act, but solely because the colored race chooses to put that construction upon it. The argument also assumes that social prejudices may be overcome by legislation. We cannot accept this proposition. Legislation is powerless to eradicate racial instincts or to abolish distinctions based upon physical differences. If one race be inferior to the other socially, the Constitution of the United States cannot put them upon the same plane."
Thus the federal government abandoned the blacks' cause of integration into American political life, leaving this divisive issue for succeeding generations to solve.